Also, this meeting is recorded, John, just for your information. So if you can turn your attention inward, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze, whatever speaks to you, and welcome your experience as it is. You don't need to do anything. No problems to solve. Nothing to seek. You don't need to be anybody in this moment. You can let it go for now. Notice the sensations within your body, whichever way they appear. The breath. No agenda. Thoughts may appear to you. They are like clouds in the sky. And you are the wide open sky. Effortlessly perceiving. Without being anybody. Without being anything. spontaneously the hearing appears. And disappears. You remain as you are. This transparent, aware presence. In the presence of hearing, as well as in the absence of hearing. There is no effort involved in being. Peace is effortless. It's not a result of any activity. Whatever you attain or you seek is some form, some object. But the peace of being is not a form or an object that anything or anyone can seek or achieve. It is the very presence of being, the very nature of ourself. The nature of reality, peace, freedom. Happiness. These are not qualities outside of yourself. It is within your very self. It is your very self, which is this peace and undisturbable being. Which has no particular form or shape. Yet absolutely real. The reality of awareness. Which effortlessly right now hears these words. One could say via a body-mind instrument, but also via the body-mind instrument of a bird or a grasshopper. As one perceiver, one I, one reality, one self. And it's nowhere to be found outside of yourself. Reality is one. In this moment, the reality of this moment is the reality of all moments. The same reality, which is the reality of I. As well as the reality of all perceptions and sensations, all forms. Refer to the reality of I, my reality, the reality of being. And as this reality, nothing is lacking. There is no seeking as this reality. Fulfillment of being. Being is fulfilled by its very nature. And this fulfillment is not external. And we know it as happiness. Not a happiness that is derived from experiences or from objects or states, but a happiness that is not derived. as this happiness, there is no separation. No beginning or ending. Because happiness is not objective, non-phenomenal. There's no beginning or ending. It does not arise in time. It's not the happiness of youth or the happiness of adolescence. It's a happiness of being, of awareness. So when you ask yourself, what is my reality in this moment? What is it that is absolute in this moment? What is it that is beyond any doubt? You come upon this silent, still presence, aware presence. Formless, transparent, unshakable, invisible, the reality which perceives. You may think or feel that you are something, somebody. You may feel that very strongly. What is this you? That is perceiving the thought and the feelings that I am somebody. Is it not I awareness? Whichever way you shake it. There is no way around it, around the reality of being. So we play the game of separate me, separate self, out of our freedom, the freedom of consciousness. We dream dreams within the dream. But all along, we are this unshakable peace and happiness. Across the board. Okay, so if there are any questions, anything that you would like to explore, please make sure to unmute your mic and any questions. Any questions?
Magdi?
Hey, John.
Yeah, hi. Just a maybe slightly technical question. I always often get confused. Do we say that consciousness is perceived? I mean, we say that we perceive, there are perceptions of our surroundings, there are from sensory input, there are perceptions in terms of our thoughts, our feelings. Do we talk about perceiving consciousness?
Well, if we're talking from our direct experience, we perceive sensations, perceptions, thoughts, memories, images, yes? We perceive hunger, we perceive the mountain, we perceive memory of our home when we're young. But according to our experience, we don't perceive consciousness. Now, we could perceive a concept of consciousness. We could have a concept of consciousness, whatever that would be. So you could say you're perceiving a concept, perceiving a thought, an image, but that's so the concept.
It is that consciousness that perceives, so to speak, in essence.
In fact, when we talk about consciousness, we refer to consciousness, at least in our discussion, and I think in Francis's teaching as well. And we define consciousness as, or awareness, as the reality which perceives. The reality which perceives is there is a reality, even though that which we may be perceiving may be a hallucination, or maybe a hypnotic state or a dream state. There is still a reality that perceives. When somebody tells you a lie, although what they're telling you is a lie, still there is a reality that perceives the lie. So in terms of reality, the reality is not the perceived, but it is that which perceives a consciousness / reality / awareness. Is the reality which perceives. So it's very important to be clear about that, because in some of the literature or the common, scientific or other literature, they confuse the term consciousness with mind, or consciousness with sentience. So we say, for example, like the body is conscious. So the body is conscious. Human body is conscious. A stone is not conscious. In this case, we're using the term consciousness to refer to the term sentience. Sentience is different from consciousness. They're qualities or attributes of the form. They're attributes of the body, or attributes of the stone, or attributes of matter, of form. Some forms are conscious as various degrees of consciousness. The cell has a certain degree of sentience, which is much simpler than, for example, the sentience at the human organism, the human level. A stone, according to the way we define sentience, is not sentient. But sometimes, maybe in the medical field or the scientific field, we use the term conscious to refer to the body, like when, for example, the body is alive. We say, "Oh, the body is conscious." Or when the body is dead, we say that body is unconscious. We also refer to mind, the mind as conscious or unconscious. Like under anesthesia, we say, well, you're unconscious. Basically referring to an absence of mind or a very low activity of mind, undiscernible, of mind. And when you're awake and, like interacting, right, you say, oh, well, the mind is conscious, you say, because there's a level of activity at the mind level. All these are confusions in terms. It's very important to clarify them in terms of what we're talking about.
Sentience refers to the ability to perceive, to have perceptions, right?
Well, it depends how you define it. Like you could say, for example, that an amoeba is sentient in that it moves, it interacts with its environment, it seeks to reproduce or to feed itself. It depends on what level you. But it's not so much about perception. It's much more about a certain form, a certain functioning, a certain degree of activity that is inherent to the organism. So, for example, like a plant, that turns towards the sun, or that seeks nutrition from the earth or from the rain or from the moisture in the air, has a very low degree of sentience, depending on how we define it. If we define sentience in terms of an organism that is breathing or that senses, that can sense. If you sort of come and touch it, it responds. You could say that, well, there are plants. I mean, if you do touch plants, I mean, depending how closely you look, you find that they do respond. They respond to being touched, to being loved, being spoken to. You can sing to a plant. I mean, I think there's some evidence that I haven't studied that much, but that even there is a way of interacting with the plant where you determine that even a plant has a certain degree of responding with this environment. There are definitional terms. They're relative, because you could go down to the stone. If you go to the cellular level of the stone, or to the atomic level of a stone, which on the surface seems to be non-interactive, and you will find that in fact there's a lot of activity within it. Or if you define a stone as non-interactive, and here you look at a stone, you come back 20,000 years and you take a picture of the stone 20,000 years ago and 20,000 years now, you find that the stone has changed in shape, and it's changed in maybe even in color, or so obviously it's interactive. So it all depends on how you define the term sentience. There's a whole spectrum. The key thing is that the term sentience refers to an aspect of phenomena, while consciousness does not. Consciousness is nominal. It refers to the reality that right now hears these words. So that reality isn't phenomenal, doesn't have phenomenal qualities, such as it reproduces, or it breathes, or it grows, or it erodes over time, or carbon dates. There's no carbon dating. Yes, so that's how we refer to the term I awareness, I consciousness.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yes, I mean, in our contemplation, we realize that there is a level of distinction between the reality that perceives and that which is perceived. You know, in Buddhism, the whole concept of impermanence, the permanent versus the impermanent, the form and the formless. But upon a closer inquiry, we find that they're not two. I mean, yes, there is that distinction, but this distinction does not refer to a duality. So consciousness is our direct experience. Awareness, so direct experience. It's not possible to wiggle your way around consciousness. It's not everything you experience refers to I. Not I, the body-mind instrument, which is okay, it's not a problem. It's a very lots of fun type of instrument. But you can't wiggle your way around I, the transparency of being. It's you know, smack in your face as a way of speaking.
What do you think? I mean, I think one of the titles of the books is Transparency of, is it Transparency of Being? One of.
It's possible. That's a term I often use.
So, you think it means the transparency of being is that there's nothing to hold on to, so to speak?
Being cannot be held on to. Not, you know, it's not like it's nothing to be held on to. There are a lot of things that it's nothing to be held on to. For example, lava is something that it's nothing to be held on to. It will melt your hands, you know. It's more that being is unheldable. I mean, being is non-objective, is an aspect of your experience, which is non-objective, which is no form, it's formless. And you need to sort of connect with that in order to get the answer to your question. That first there is being in the amness, the I amness, or the amness right now in this moment. There is something rather than nothing. This something rather than nothing is whatever that is. We refer to it as I, or as the I am. That's beyond any doubt. I am, whatever that means. Whatever, you know, I am. Something is, which we refer to as I am. It's not like something is out there, like there is a, you know, it's very, it's a direct experience that never not on board. Of course, we overlook it, but whenever you turn your attention in that direction, you come to the absolute yes, I am. So that's being. But this amness, is not something that amness is perceiving. It's not an object. It's not a form that is being perceived. It perceives. It's not something else that perceives. It's not like the tree perceives. No, what perceives is this amness, this iris. This moment, I'm talking about in this moment. There's no doubt about that. That's absolute. That's you need to come to complete clarity about that. But this amness also, when you turn your attention to it, it's in a way turning its attention to itself. When amness, presence, turns its attention to itself, there is just transparency. There isn't like a gray cloud or a pink cloud or a white cloud or a beautiful mist or a surface of a stream. No, when amness turns its attention to itself, in this moment, it is. In this moment, I am. Yes, in this moment, I am. There's no doubt about that. So this amness is, and is transparent. And it's this amness in this moment that perceives. And the thing is that gets in the way is that when the mind starts spinning, it sort of is looking for this amness in thought. It's trying to sort of get some image or some model of amness, but it's not possible to have a model of amness, because whatever model you have, the amness is perceiving it. Model would be an object, and no matter how sophisticated the model is, it's just a representation. It's still a form. That which perceives, that which senses, that which is in this moment, has no shape, no form, no eyes, no nose, no teeth, and it is the reality of awareness, reality of being. So being and reality is being is reality. It's another way of speaking or referring to reality is using the term being. Anything, any form, no matter how minute it is. If you look at quarks, or you even go beyond that, there is still a form, even if it's very light, radiation in the infinite space. It's still a form. If it's 10 to the minus 1,000, in terms of its radiation, it's still a form, meaning unobservable. All forms are observable. But we're talking about the reality which observes right now, that which perceives, let's say, and that doesn't, you can't. It's beyond. It perceives. It's not perceivable, so it's beyond any ray. You can reify, dissolve matter to almost the infinitesimal bit of matter. It's still a form. So the download is that I, meaning being, awareness, is a form. The spirit, the soul, a transmigrating reality from body to body across ages. That's this form of download, that is a misunderstanding about the spiritual understanding of a soul or a spirit has been objectified in a way, So we are this transparency. I know it's mind-boggling because the mind cannot conceive of the absolute, because when we say transparency, we're not talking about, less opaque. We're talking about the absolute transparency. The mind can only think in relative. It can have a concept of the absolute, but it can't really conceive the absolute. It can only dissolve or end in the absolute. It cannot grasp beyond itself. It can only dissolve in that which is beyond itself.
It's quite miraculous when you just sit quietly for a while, and somehow you realize, like I realize in this moment, that the mind just creates this entity that we refer to as ourselves and our lives, and our negativity. It's all just this kind of mind stuff.
Yes.
And you know, sitting now quietly, it just somehow, what seemed so real, you know, an hour ago, now just seems like nothing, you know.
Yes. You know, beingness is sufficient to itself. Once we somehow get a living sense of this sufficiency, this sufficiency, then life is a sort of a, it doesn't alter the sufficiency, this peace. So life is in a way, a play of this peace, the play of being. It's a manifestation of being. Being is this completeness, this wholeness, this well-being, let's say, within itself, not a well-being because of that. Just it's a beingness is well-beingness within itself. And then life is because in being, in peace and silence and presence, there is no separation. There is no duality. Duality is this mind appearing and trying to pull you back into belief. Wait a minute, you know, there is something else. There's another reality which is called Magdi, which is your story or your history. But from the perspective of being, you just see thoughts, a thought, an image, and you also see the falsehood of being, which is your reality, that which perceives, the falsehood of being becoming an object. Because an object you perceive an object. How can you perceive an oak tree? How can you become an oak tree? So you start to see the play in a way. And what's also, it's like you start to get in touch with the unhappiness that this play of separation, the unhappy aspect of it. And of course, then we may ask ourselves, well, wait a minute, maybe I don't need to get on board that ship. I don't need to straddle that pony. I don't need to go in that direction. What for? I mean, been there so many times. It's unhappy, and so to sort of get a sense of that peace is quite refreshing, and it in a way it reminds you. It's a reminder of our true self, of reality, of our true nature, of truth. It's a reminder of truth.
I would say it is truth.
Yes.
I mean, just as a concession to language, just
Yes.
to say the peace is true.
Yes, of course. It's truth, and yes, but yeah, the visitation, of God's castle reminds us, of visitation of the garden, the orange grove, reminds us of the perfume of the orange blossoms. Yes, of course, it's absolutely, peace is truth. And in fact, separation or unhappiness is just an illusion, because there aren't two truths. There isn't the truth of peace and another truth, which is unpeace or non-peace. There aren't two truths. There's only one truth. We call it peace, love, happiness. And in the understanding about this one reality, that not just the conceptual understanding, but the full understanding of that, then there are no opposites. There is no opposition. In the absence of opposition, there is peace. The absence of opposition is also happiness, because nothing to seek, nothing that's missing. The absence of opposition, or the absence of duality, is also love, because it's all one. I and thou are one, which is love. Oneness is love. So yes, that is truth, love, beauty. There's nothing else happening in the entire universe. There is nothing else happening.
Well, what for you is the experience of? I'm curving towards top things we've discussed quite a few times, but it's still kind of a mystery, like this. There are obviously moments, even at the level of mind, that I say to myself, I may say, I want to just be now nobody. I want to be nothing. I want to just have complete peace and just be. I'm tired of being somebody, and it kind of feels like it's almost an advantage to strive towards the non-dual understanding in a given moment. And then in other moments, when somehow there seems to be a dilemma of how to act, then it seems to be almost like advantageous to be somebody. I can't quite.
Well, you're never somebody. In fact, I mean, you may, of course, play the game of being the doctor, being the brother, being the father, being the son, being whatever. There is that role, but it's you don't even need to think it out. It's a sort of built into our DNA and in our history. We know that. We know whose son or whose father or whose brother, whose friend we are. It's already built in. We know, already, through our education, our life, where to go for food and what we need to do for survival. How we need to, do we need to relate with each other? What things to say, what things not to say. So all of that is, you don't need to be somebody to to function. Like right now, for example, we are having conversation that neither I nor any of us is really being somebody, and yet we're interacting, we're talking, we're exploring, because it's already, we already know the language, we already know how to speak, we know when to listen. All of that is already operating, and it's not our personal play. It is a play that's being played, one could say, through these body minds and through this world, the stage, the stage of the world, and using the realm of mind and perceptions and thinking and distinctions and discriminations. All of that is already, these dice are being thrown, moment by moment. There is that form of activity that's being sort of choreographed and played, and we perceive it. We are the players and the perceivers. So we perceive the situation, we perceive the world, we perceive our thoughts, we perceive feelings, we perceive the sensations. So we're simultaneously perceiving and that which we are perceiving. We're simultaneously the created and the creator. But the thing that's important to comprehend in the non-dual teaching is that although at the local level there are local perceptions and local events with particular shapes and particular colors and particular forms, that which is perceiving across all minds. So the I, the I which perceive, the I which perceives is not the body. It's not a particular body mind. It's the same I, the same consciousness that is perceiving across infinite minds. It's very hard for the mind to comprehend that, because the mind is local. The mind is basically saying, I am this particular mind. So from the mind perspective, it's completely, mad. It's completely incomprehensible. How could I, this particular mind, be perceiving across other minds? But we're not talking about the mind perceiving, because the mind does not perceive. The mind, we refer to the mind as the realm of perception, the field of perception, but not the perceiver, not that which perceives. It's a very subtle but very crucial, very important, distinction. So in terms of your love for peace and freedom and being nobody, and rather than being somebody, you're never somebody. You're always nobody. You're always nobody as not a particular body, of course. And one could say that as so you've never been you've never been somebody. So don't preoccupy yourself about exerting some effort to be nobody, because you can't. You already are. You already are nobody. You already are this transparent awareness right now, in this moment, every moment. You already are that, you see. So when you're exerting an effort to be this presence, to be this quotes unquote nobody, you're at that moment you're imagining yourself. It's just imagining yourself to be somebody, and within your imagination, you're imagining within your imagination that this somebody who's you're imagining yourself to be has to figure a way of being nobody. It's a dream within a dream. First, you dream yourself as being somebody, and then you dream within this somebody the dream of becoming nobody. You see what I mean? You see what I mean?
Could you repeat that last?
Yes. So
dream of being somebody and the dream of being.
yeah, you're always this presence, this transparent presence, this quotes unquote nobodiness, you know, as a way of speaking, you know. So when you say, okay, well, gee, sometimes I feel like, you know, I would love to be nobody. I would love to be nobody. When you're saying that, at that moment, you're veiling it to yourself. But I'm unveiling it right now. What I'm unveiling is, at that moment, you actually are imagining yourself to be somebody, while in fact you are already this nobodiness. But you imagine yourself to be somebody, and you're imagining that this somebody who you already imagine yourself to be, you're imagining that this somebody is imagining that they want to be nobody. So it's an imagination within an imagination.
What would you say, if I can try and ask a more, like, when when two options come up, I mean, from your experience, when you have to make something comes up in your life and you need to make a decision, and the activity, the mind activity of whatever it is that has to decide between, I don't know what, to buy a new house or sell a house, or when there is let's say an uncomfortable sensation comes over you, in that the decision feels like an unpleasant experience, which I suppose can be attributed to believing that somebody is making a decision. So what is it? What is it what is it? Could you share how you deal with such a situation? Like,
yeah. So, you know, many situations, you know, can arise where there isn't clarity, you know, about okay, which way to go, you know, A, B, or C, which path to take, and at that moment, the mind is in a sort of a state of is sort of debating. It's not like resting, you know, and okay, yes, you know, the path is this way, you know. It's sort of it's jumping from looking at this, comparing that, getting more information about path A, finding information about path B. It's so there is a body mind state, a state of debate, of gathering information, of uncertainty,
agitation, maybe.
No, I wouldn't use the term agitation. No, I wouldn't use the term agitation. I would use the term more like uncertainty, or maybe not clarity. I don't know what would be, you know, lack of clarity and feeling uncertain. I'm not sure, not clear, you know, I'm not clear. Agitation is a little bit more deeper than that, okay? In agitation, so, and maybe that's, you know, so there is no unhappiness in that. I mean, the unhappiness will come from, oh my God, if I make the wrong choice, you know, I'm cooked. Or if I make the wrong choice, damn, I could have gotten. I chose a route A, and I could have gotten more from route B. Or what if I choose a route A and actually route C is the one? If I take route A and I don't take route C, and route C is the right one, then I'm gonna be miserable. Or something grave, something serious is going to happen to me, to my family, to me, some sort of me, whether it's just the private me or the extended me. It could be my family, my tribe, my country, my nation, my planet, my galaxy. It's still a sort of a form of me, you see. So when there is this sense of irritation and unhappiness, okay, in those situations, then you need to sort of take a different approach, John. You need to take a look at, okay, wait a minute. Okay, if I'm going to continue feeding that beast, which is right there on board, and I'm buying into it, buying into, well, there's something really serious here, something at stake, you're going to, that impression is going to carry itself throughout your decision and throughout your path. You need to nip it at the bud. Is that the expression? You need to sort of get it right there. So at that moment, you are assuming that there is somebody outside of this transparent awareness, outside of this intelligence. There is a separate reality, some separate reality to which a lot of it is at stake. There's like, wait a minute, we've got to bet on the right number here, because if we don't bet on the right number, we're going to go broke, you see. But from the perspective of reality, there's no broke. You can go broke. It's infinite abundance, infinite possibilities, infinite creativity, infinite creation, because awareness is the creation, is creating moment by moment. There is nothing at stake for anybody, because there is no actual separate selves within awareness. Separate self is just an imaginary within our feeling and belief structure, our education and our society and our culture is deep ignorance, you see. So it's about happiness. In decisions, life is about happiness. This doesn't mean you're making the best decisions all the time, because sometimes you make a decision out of a limited amount of information because you have to make the decision. Okay, and then you find out later that, holy cow, it wasn't a winning number, you say. Okay, but because you made your decision not out of fear, first of all, you made a decision out of the knowledge, whatever knowledge you had at the moment. Nobody has a crystal ball, and nobody is the macro computer or the best computer of the world that can beat any chess player that plays against me. Nobody is like that. All bodies have a limited, and also the situation. Situation may be a situation where you don't know. You really don't know. You don't know yet. At some point, something will go. You may make a decision even out of incomplete certainty. But the key thing is, there's nothing at stake. Fine, let's see. It may go this way, it may go that way, we'll see. Because you're always in the moment. You're always living in the moment. You see, you're not living in time. You see, you don't exist in time. You always, let's say, exist as presence, as a way of speaking. And like in presence, it's always full and complete in this moment, in each moment. Right? So that's really important to understand. There is nothing at stake. And of course, then you take your time. What's the rush? Sometimes we make decisions like quickly we feel that, oh, we have to. No, you don't have to. Just lay back. So wait and see. I don't know. And sometimes you feel, okay, well, heck with it. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go that way. And if you go, but remain. How do you say? Don't put your freedom at stake. Just remain free. Oh, it went this way. Okay. Nope. There were rapids now. All right. Let's see if we can survive these rapids. Yeah. So in the end, you cannot kill consciousness. You can't do any harm to your reality, to that which you are. And what would we care more? What would we care about more other than reality? Really, reality is the only thing on board. And what is it? What is it in this moment? Is it our dreams, our thoughts, our feelings, our history, our bank account, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters? No. Where is your brother of 500 years ago? Where is your mother of 1,000 years ago? No. Reality doesn't come and go. Forms come and go, appearances come and go. Because that's creation. That's the play, that's the fun. Imagine you're watching a movie and they start the movie, an image comes on the screen and then it freezes. The whole movie is this image. Right? I mean, like, holy, after 1 minute, you want to leave the theater. So the unhappiness is not the fact that there are decisions to be made. The unhappiness is that we are assuming ourselves to be a separate consciousness, and that there is something at stake, and that the decision has to happen now, or has to be the right decision, or you know.
Yeah.
I remember, like, years ago when I was, much younger, I lived in New York City in a small apartment. That was somehow I got it from a friend who rent control. I was paying like less than $200 for a small apartment. There was a walk up. I have to walk up, in old buildings, and a bicycle. I went around bicycle in New York City. No car, no, very little income. I was making some pastries and selling them in my apartment, and I was happy as a rooster. I was so happy, and my brothers would visit me because they had some brothers who were very wealthy. They lived in those. They would come and they would say, "Oh my God, Magdi, how can you?" Oh my God, what's happening to you? How can you? And I was thinking, what are they not getting? Don't they see how happy I am? And in fact, they had so many problems. They were like, they were telling me, what's wrong with your life? Anyways, just this memory is just coming to mind. It's a play. It's a life is a place. It's about joy. It's about love, about friendship, about enjoyment, enjoying each other. Not so much about pleasure. It's not about pleasure. Joy and happiness is not about pleasure. Sometimes we may come together, working really hard to dig somebody out of the snow. There is nothing, quotes unquote, pleasurable about that. But yet we're very happy to help our neighbor dig themselves out of the snow or whatever, We are never alone, we're never alone. We're never alone. That's just this idea of separate needed. Anyways.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, John. Where are you now?
In Portugal.
Oh, you're in Portugal. Okay. Yes. What time do you have out there? Is it?
It's like the UK. It's 11:15.
Okay.
11:15.
Oh yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Same here.
Okay. Thanks. So, any questions? Well, Happy New Year to all of you, and enjoy, don't overdo it. Okay, Patrick.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you very much, Magdi.
Yes, John. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Doriana. Mr. Gloriana.
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, hello, Gloriana. Nice
Thank
to see
you.
you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Magdi. Happy
Thank you.
New Year for you, Tara, and everybody.
Thank you. Gracias, Gloriana. And Grace. Okay. Lovely to see you, Grace. Happy New Year. John. Hey, John. Yes. 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 There are two Johns. There is John and John. Kelly. Kelly.
Hi, Magdi.
Kelly. Yes.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you all. Thank you. Richard. Lovely. Okay. See you. Okay.
Thank you all so much. That was a wonderful satsang. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Magdi.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
All right.
All is tranquilo.
Tranquilo, baby. Tranquilo.
Tranquilo, baby.
Tranquilo, baby.
All right.
Thank you, Magdi.
That's very lovely. Lovely. Okay. Okay. Okay.